They say words can lie, but energy never does. That's something you must carry with you, especially when dealing with people closest to you. Friends, family, even those you've known for years. We've been conditioned to listen to what people say, to evaluate intentions based on smiles, gestures, and kind words. But what if I told you that the most dangerous energy often comes disguised in love, in laughter, in the warm tone of someone who says, "I'm only telling you this because I care." When I speak about hidden demons, I'm not referring to some mythological entity. I'm talking about emotional poison that people carry within them. Jealousy, bitterness, insecurity, deep-rooted anger, and how that poison seeps out through their presence. Most of the time, it's not even in what they do directly. It's how you feel when you're around them. You walk into a room, and suddenly your chest feels heavy. Your thoughts begin to tangle. You feel small, unsure, like something invisible just latched onto your peace. These are not random emotions. This is your inner compass speaking. You must learn to listen to it, because the body knows before the mind can explain, and the energy between two people never lies. There's a reason why you feel more exhausted after spending time with certain people, even if the conversation was light and friendly. There's a reason you feel judged even when no harsh words were spoken. Their energy speaks louder than their mouth ever could, and the people who carry these hidden demons often know how to mask them with charm, with humor, with shared memories. But underneath, the vibration is off. You can feel it in your gut, and you need to stop dismissing that feeling just because your logic says, "But they're family," or "But we've been friends since childhood." Some people have learned how to hide their darkness in socially acceptable ways. They won't attack you directly. They'll just dismiss your dreams subtly. They won't insult you. They'll make jokes that feel oddly sharp. They won't block your path, but they'll delay your steps with discouragement or doubt. And while on the surface it all seems harmless, something within you will feel that shift. It's not paranoia, it's perception. Energy is your first layer of defense. It's how you recognize when something isn't in alignment, even when you can't explain it in words. Start paying attention to what your energy is doing when certain people speak to you. Do you feel safe, inspired, or do you feel smaller, more uncertain, slightly off? Balance, that is not random, that is data. That is truth, and here's what most people do. They override that instinct, they rationalize it. Maybe I'm just being sensitive, they say, or worse, maybe I'm the problem. That's how the hidden demons stay hidden. Because your awareness is the light that reveals them, and they thrive in your willingness to doubt yourself. You don't need someone to scream at you to realize they're toxic. Some of the most damaging people never raise their voice. They just drain you slowly, and the worst part is, they often genuinely believe they love you. But love mixed with unresolved pain is still dangerous. A person who hasn't healed will love you through the filter of their wounds. And that love will come with conditions, control, or quiet sabotage. So, what do? You start by trusting yourself again. You begin to honor how you feel, not just what you hear. You stop giving people a free pass just because they hold a place in your past. Energy doesn't lie, and it doesn't care about titles like best friend or cousin. It responds to the truth of the moment. The next time you feel confused about someone's presence in your life, step back and stop asking, "But what did they do?" Start asking, "How do they make me feel even in silence?" Because the truth is always louder in silence. And when you learn to listen with your spirit and not just your ears, you'll begin to notice that some of the people you love most carry energies that don't love you back. And the moment you realize that is the moment you take your power back. You have to understand, when darkness hides itself, it doesn't come at you with force. It creeps in through gestures that seem harmless. It hides behind politeness, behind smiles. One of the most common ways hidden demons operate is through subtle sabotage. Not everyone who hurts you does it with a knife in their hand. Some of them do it with a warm hug, a gentle voice, and words that sound like support, but feel like chains. You'll hear things like asterisk, "Are you sure you want to do that? It's risky." Asterisk or asterisk, "I just don't want you to be disappointed." Asterisk or even asterisk, "That's not really you. I don't see you doing that." Asterisk, at first glance, it all sounds like concern. But underneath, it's something else. It's a quiet way of planting doubt in your heart. It's someone saying asterisk, "Don't rise too far beyond what I'm used to." Asterisk, they might not even know they're doing it. But their hidden insecurities use your ambition as a mirror, and it reflects what they haven't dealt with in themselves. When someone supports you only when you're struggling, but withdraws or grows uncomfortable when you're succeeding, you need to pay attention. That's not just emotional distance, that's spiritual resistance. It's a hidden demon being agitated by your light, because your growth shines a light on their stagnation. Your healing disturbs what they've buried. And then there's backhanded kindness, those moments when someone offers help, but with strings attached. They'll do something for you and then later use it as leverage. They'll remind you, make you feel like you owe them. That's not love, that's control disguised as care. And when someone tries to control you through guilt, manipulation, or obligation, you are not dealing with clean energy. You are facing something that wants power, not connection. Another tactic hidden demons love is minimization. You'll open your heart about something meaningful, something that excites you, and they'll respond with a shrug, a smirk, a joke. "That's cute," they might say. Or, "Let's see how long this one lasts." They'll pretend it's all in good fun, but what they're really doing is trying to reduce your fire before it gets too bright. Because when you shine too brightly, they can't pretend not to see their own shadows. These are the moments you need to remember. It's not always about what someone asterisk does asterisk to you. It's about how they asterisk respond asterisk to your evolution. Because hidden demons don't just show up when things are bad. They reveal themselves when things are going well. Watch how people act when you're excited, when you're focused, when you've made progress. Do they celebrate with you, or do they grow strangely silent? Do they lift you up, or do they say something small that plants hesitation inside you? You have to stop overlooking these things. It doesn't matter how long you've known someone, or what they've done for you in the past. Loyalty should not be blind. Love should not be a reason to tolerate low vibrations. Just because someone has history with you doesn't mean they deserve access to your future. And I'm not saying go and cut everyone off. No, I'm saying become aware. Bring presence into your relationships, not paranoia, presence. Start seeing the little cracks in the mask. Start observing how people react when you tell them about your dreams. Start noticing whether they add fuel to your fire or water. Because here's the truth. People with hidden demons often don't know they're acting from darkness. But whether they know it or not, it still affects you. And if you ignore it long enough, their subtle sabotage becomes part of your inner dialogue. You start doubting yourself. You start hesitating. You start shrinking, not because you're weak, but because you're trying to stay loved by someone who only supports a limited version of you. And that's the trap. They love the version of you that doesn't threaten them, the version that stays small, quiet, predictable. But the moment you expand, they withdraw, or they begin to chip away at your self-belief. That's when you realize it was never unconditional. It was a transaction, and your silence, your limitation, was the payment. So when people around you start acting differently, not loudly, but subtle, you take a step back. Listen deeply, not to their words, but to the spaces between them, the sighs, the pauses, the faint tightening in their tone when you talk about your joy. That's where the truth lives, and once you learn to spot it, you can no longer unsee it. One of the most confusing dynamics you'll ever experience is feeling deeply connected to someone who is also deeply unhealthy for your growth. You might find yourself asking, asterisk, why do I feel so loyal to this person, asterisk or asterisk? Why do I keep going back when I know something feels off? Asterisk, and the answer often lies in something many people never talk about: trauma bonds. These bonds are not built through love. They're built through survival. They're formed in moments of shared pain, emotional chaos, or cycles of tension and release. And because you experienced something intense with this person, whether it was childhood struggle, a broken family dynamic, or mutual hardship, you start confusing intensity with loyalty. You begin to think, asterisk, we've been through so much together, asterisk, as if pain automatically qualifies someone to stay in your life forever. But shared pain is not the same as shared purpose. Just because someone suffered beside you doesn't mean they're meant to rise with you. And here's where the hidden demon hides. Within the illusion that closeness born from suffering is unbreakable truth. You hold on to them not because the relationship is healthy, but because your nervous system has gotten used to the emotional roller coaster. Your mind says love, but your body is bracing for another low, another disappointment, another moment where your needs will be dismissed again. The problem is, when you bond through trauma, your connection becomes rooted in dysfunction. You learn to walk on eggshells, you normalize instability, and the scariest part, you begin to fear peace because it feels unfamiliar. When chaos has been your emotional baseline, someone who treats you well might feel boring. Someone who gives you space to breathe might feel distant. That's how upside down things get. You see, hidden demons often come dressed as soulmates, not romantic soulmate, emotional ones. That friend who always knows how to comfort you, but never shows up when you succeed. That family member who defends you in public but criticizes you in private. They are the people who make you feel seen, but only when you're in pain, and that's the trick. They love you the most when you're hurting, because your pain keeps you close. Your suffering maintains the bond, but what happens when you begin to heal, when you set boundaries, when you stop repeating the old stories and start stepping into peace? That's when the bond begins to break. And they feel it, the hidden demons feel it. Suddenly they accuse you of changing. They say, asterisk, you're different now, asterisk or asterisk, you think you're better than us. Asterisk, but what they're really saying is, asterisk, I no longer know how to connect with you if you're not suffering. Asterisk, that's why healing can feel lonely. That's why peace can feel like abandonment. You start losing people, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're no longer a match for the bond that was built in pain. And when that bond begins to crack, the hidden resentment surfaces. You see the truth. You notice how conditional their support really was. You realize they didn't love the real you. They loved the broken version of you that needed them. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. Because your heart wants to believe that the history you shared means something, that the connection was pure. But what if the connection was actually a coping mechanism? What if the loyalty you feel is just unhealed trauma trying to stay alive? Let me be clear. Feeling close to someone doesn't always mean it's healthy. Emotional familiarity isn't always love. Sometimes it's just repetition, a loop you haven't broken yet. And the longer you stay in it, the more you lose parts of yourself trying to keep the peace, trying to hold on to someone who was only meant to be part of your past, not your path forward. So how do you break free? You start by acknowledging the bond without shaming yourself for it. You say, asterisk, yes, we went through pain together. Yes, there was connection, but no, that doesn't mean I owe them my future. Asterisk, and then you choose differently. You begin to bond with people who support your healing, not your hurting. People who celebrate your growth, not just your survival. Because when you step into real peace, real stability, the hidden demons within others will become loud. Not through shouting, but through silence, through withdrawal, through subtle judgment. But that's when you'll know you've broken the cycle. You've chosen alignment over attachment, and nothing is more powerful than that. If you want to truly understand someone's character, look closely at how they react when you're evolving. Growth has a strange way of making people uncomfortable, not your enemies, not strangers, but the ones who claim to love you most. It's in those moments when you start stepping out of the version of yourself they're used to. that their true feelings begin to rise to the surface. And when I say hidden demons, I'm not talking about evil people. I'm talking about the unhealed parts in others, the shadows they haven't faced, that get triggered when you begin to heal, to change, to rise. You see, people are rarely threatened by your healing until it challenges the dynamic they've grown comfortable in. Maybe you were always the one who needed advice, who stayed quiet, who apologized first. Maybe you were the one who always played small so they could feel big. The one who kept things light so they didn't have to feel uncomfortable. And suddenly you start saying no, you start setting boundaries, you begin to speak with clarity, with strength, with peace, and you think they'll be proud of you, but instead they pull away, or they joke about how you've changed, or you're acting strange lately. That's not confusion. That's discomfort. Their inner wounds don't know how to relate to the healed version of you. It's easy to say someone supports your journey, but the truth shows when your journey starts to take you somewhere unfamiliar to them. Maybe you used to connect over complaining, over pain, over things going wrong. But now you're calm, you're clear. You're no longer playing victim. You're no longer seeking validation. And that shift exposes their steel and healed wounds. It makes them feel left behind, not because you left them, but because you outgrew what kept you both in sync. Watch how people react to your silence, to your joy, to your success. Not the big ones necessarily. Sometimes it's the small victories that bring out the biggest reactions. You share something simple that brings you joy, and instead of excitement, you get sarcasm, a forced smile, a lack of eye contact. It's not loud, it's subtle, but it's a signal, and that signal is your clarity. It's their discomfort speaking a language their mouth will never admit. What's difficult is that it hurts more when it comes from those closest to you. You expect resistance from the outside world, but not from the people you call home. Not from the people who know your story, but the truth is, your healing story often reminds them of the healing they still haven't begun. And when you show them what's possible, without saying a word, it triggers the parts of themselves they've kept buried. That's when the hidden demon shows up, not in the form of an attack, but as a quiet withdrawal, a sharp comment, a sudden distance that you can feel but can't fully explain. You'll hear them say things like, asterisk, don't forget where you came from, asterisk, or asterisk, you've changed, asterisk, and they say it like it's a bad thing. But you must understand, what they really mean is, asterisk, you're not behaving in a way that makes me feel secure anymore. Asterisk, because your evolution is not just your journey. It's a mirror for everyone around you. And mirrors don't lie. Mirrors reflect what's there, healed or not. This is why emotional maturity is so rare, because true support requires security. It requires someone to hold space for your light, even if they're still finding their own. It requires someone to celebrate your freedom, even if they're still in chains. And not everyone can do that. Not because they don't love you, but because they haven't yet loved themselves deeply enough to not feel threatened by your flight. So what do? You let their reactions teach you. You stop arguing with them. You stop trying to explain your peace. You stop trying to make them comfortable with your boundaries. You just observe. Because their triggers are telling you everything. Their energy will answer the questions you've been too afraid to ask. Do they love who you are, or who you used to be? Do they support your truth, or only the version that fit their comfort zone? Do they walk with you in light, or only in darkness? You don't have to punish anyone for being triggered by your growth, but you do have to protect your path, because every step you take toward healing will reveal more truth, not just about yourself, but about everyone around you. And truth always requires you to choose. Life will always give you signs. The universe doesn't whisper in random languages. It speaks through patterns, through the things that repeat themselves, through the emotional cycles you can't seem to escape, through the behaviors that show up again and again in the people around you. Most people wait for something dramatic to happen to believe something is wrong. They wait for betrayal, they wait for confrontation, but hidden demons don't always make noise. Sometimes they make patterns, and the longer you ignore those patterns, the more deeply they take root in your life. Have you ever found yourself in the same emotional space, over and over again with different people. Maybe it starts with subtle criticism, then it turns into feeling dismissed. Then somehow you're questioning yourself again, your worth, your voice. And you think, asterisk, why does this keep happening to me? Asterisk, that question is important. But what's more important is whether you're listening to the answer. Because when someone's energy keeps pulling you into confusion, heaviness, or doubt, it's not an accident. It's a pattern, and patterns don't lie. You see, repetition is a mirror, and it's not just reflecting who they are. It's showing you what you've been tolerating. Sometimes the hidden demons in people don't show themselves through single actions. They reveal themselves over time through the subtle erosion of your self-trust, your joy, your clarity. One comment at a time, one dismissive look, one broken promise, one small betrayal that you forgive because it didn't seem like a big deal. But when you zoom out, you realize the path behind you is full of emotional debris, and the weight of that debris is the pattern. This is where awareness must replace loyalty, because loyalty to a pattern is loyalty to your own suffering. And if you keep justifying someone's behavior because that's just how they are, or they didn't mean it that way, then you are choosing to explain away your own discomfort. You are making yourself small to avoid facing what's right in front of you. People show you who they are repeatedly, not with one grand gesture, but with the energy they bring into your space over time. You'll notice that you feel more anxious after talking to them. You'll notice that you hesitate to share good news because they always find a way to downplay it. You'll notice that you're always the one reaching out, always the one apologizing, always the one bending. Those are not random moments. Those are patterns, and behind those patterns, hidden demons, not necessarily because they're trying to harm you on purpose, but because what's unresolved within them keeps surfacing, and you're the closest mirror. Their insecurity shows up as control, their jealousy shows up as coldness, their fear shows up as indifference. And if you ignore the pattern, you absorb the impact. You start believing it's just life, just relationships, just how people are. But no, that's not truth. That's conditioning. Some patterns are emotional traps. You begin to anticipate disappointment before it even arrives. You start walking into conversations already bracing for disrespect, and when it comes, it doesn't shock you. It just confirms what you've quietly known for a long time, that something is off, and it keeps repeating because you've been taught to excuse it. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't need a big reason to walk away from a draining dynamic. You don't need permission to protect your peace. A pattern of subtle harm is still harm. A pattern of confusion is still a sign of misalignment. It's not about whether they're a bad person. It's about whether the energy between you is healthy, honest, and supportive. And here's what's beautiful. When you start honoring patterns, you start healing cycles. You begin to trust your own clarity again. You stop giving people multiple chances to prove they're not safe for your spirit. You stop calling it patience when it's really self-betrayal. Because maturity isn't about enduring more pain, it's about recognizing it sooner. So watch closely. Not just how someone acts one day, but how they move over time. Not just what they say, but what stays consistent. Ask yourself, is this a relationship, or is this a loop? Am I growing, or am I just surviving? Do I feel empowered here, or am I constantly managing discomfort? The truth is, no one can hide who they are forever, but patterns, those quiet repetitions, reveal everything. When you truly find your center, when you are so deeply rooted in your own peace that nothing can shake you, you start to see clearly. It's as if a mirror has been placed right in front of you, reflecting not just your own light, but the shadows of those around you. I've seen it time and again. A person who rises with calm and certainty, who moves through life with a quiet assurance, becomes a beacon that illuminates the hidden truths of others. When you are in alignment with who you are, your peace speaks volumes. It asks the question, what are they truly projecting onto me? It isn't long before you begin to notice that people who are struggling within, whose hidden demons refuse to vanish, react to your tranquility in ways that reveal their inner struggles. Their discomfort, their subtle criticism, and even their unexpected outbursts are less about you and more about the parts of themselves they haven't healed. When you are calm, your energy becomes a clear reflection of what they are not. It forces them to face the realization that while you are expanding, they are still tethered to old patterns of doubt, anger, or fear. I remember moments when I felt the undeniable pull of my inner calm resonating so deeply that it not only quieted my own mind, but also seemed to unsettle those who lingered in chaos. The energy shifted around me, and suddenly, those who had once been loud in their negativity fell silent. Their eyes, instead of lighting up with envy or irritation, betrayed something raw, a hidden vulnerability they desperately wished to conceal. You see, your peace is not just a gift to yourself. It becomes a powerful force that challenges every negative vibration trying to cling onto the periphery of your life. It's important to recognize that protecting your peace isn't about shutting people out or refusing to engage with the realities of their pain. Rather, it's about honoring yourself enough to understand that you deserve to be seen in your full light, not through the dark prisms of their unhealed wounds. As you cultivate your inner calm, you begin to realize that every moment of peace is a declaration. I am whole and I choose to stand in my truth. And that clarity is something many around you might find difficult to handle, especially if they're still trying to navigate their own stormy seas. When you observe this, you might be tempted to try and reach out, to help them mend what is clearly broken. And while compassion is certainly not something to be discarded, remember that you cannot be the healer of everyone. A deep-seated inner peace does not magically fix others' pain. Instead, it lays bare the contrast between a life lived in alignment and one mired in unresolved turmoil. It's a gentle but unyielding challenge that says, if you seek my light, you must be willing to confront your shadows. And for those unwilling or not yet ready to face their own darkness, your peace might inadvertently feel like an indictment of their pain. This is why it becomes so crucial to protect your energy fiercely. When you consciously nurture your inner calm through mindfulness, through moments of solitude, through practices that ground you, you create a space that's sacred and inviolate. In that space, no amount of negativity can intrude. It's like having your own personal sanctuary, a safe harbor where you can see clearly without the haze of someone else's unresolved issues. And paradoxically, by nurturing and protecting your inner peace, you not only fortify yourself against external disturbances, but you also allow others to see the beauty of what true calm looks like. They, in turn, may be inspired to begin their own journey of healing, or they might recoil, revealing just how much they still need to work on themselves. There will be moments when the contrast between your inner peace and the disorder around you feels stark, and at times even painful. You might sense that someone you care about is suffering in silence, their presence marked by an inability to find comfort in your calmness. In those moments, you must remind yourself that their pain is not your responsibility, it is their own. And your commitment to preserving your peace is not a rejection of them, but a necessary stance to ensure that you continue to grow and shine. So, as you continue on this journey of life, embrace your tranquility. Let it be as fierce and unmistakable as your determination to live truthfully. Recognize that your inner calm is not just a state, it is an invitation for authenticity, for resilience, and ultimately, for the highest form of self-love. When you protect your peace, you live so powerfully that you can't help but light the way for others. Even as you remain true to yourself, hold that truth close and let it guide you forward.